Good afternoon, and once again we come to the pastor's study. One of the very earliest pieces of music that the church is aware of, going as far back as we have any kind of, I guess I would call institutional memory, probably well back into the 700s and 800s and earlier, is Psalm 100. It's been chanted, it's been sung in numerous ways. Perhaps the most common version of that is in the King James. Let me read it to you. Make a joyful noise unto the Lord, all you lands. Serve the Lord with gladness, and come before his presence with singing. Know ye that the Lord, he is God. It is he that hath made us, and not we ourselves. We are his people, and the sheep of his pasture. Enter into his gates with thanksgiving, and into his courts with praise. Be thankful unto him, and bless his name. For the Lord is good, and his mercy is everlasting, and his truth endureth to all generations. You know, occasionally it's good to be able to read in different versions and in different translations. It gives a different flavor to what we're reading, and from a personal perspective causes me to stop and think a little bit more about what I'm studying, because it becomes so very easy over time to say, well, I've read this before, I've memorized it, I know what it says, and the different translations makes me think a little more deeply about what I'm studying. I ran across one recently called the Passion Translation. Let me read Psalm 100 to you again, now in the Passion Translation. Lift up a great shout of joy to the Lord. Go ahead and do it, everyone, everywhere. As you serve him, be glad and worship him. Sing your way into his presence with joy. And realize what this really means. We have the privilege of worshiping the Lord our God. For he is our creator, and we belong to him. We are the people of his pleasure. You can pass through his open gates with the password of praise. Come right into his presence with thanksgiving. Come, bring your thank offering to him, and affectionately bless his beautiful name. For the Lord is always good, and always ready to receive you. He is so loving that it will amaze you, so kind that it will astound you, and he is famous for his faithfulness towards all. Everyone knows our God can be trusted, for he keeps his promises to every generation. As I read that in the Passion Translation, there's some things that begin to kind of to sink into my mind. We so often treat our relationship with God as a Sunday thing and maybe a morning devotional, and that's what we see of God, and that's what we know of God, and that's what we experience of God, and we assume that's it. Those of us who've grown up in the church have grown up with traditions, and this is the way we've always done things. And maybe, if nothing else, this coronavirus event that we have been, or crisis that we are living through, has certainly made us break a lot of traditions and made us rethink some things. In the Jewish Old Testament, they worshipped at first the tabernacle and later the temple. All they could see, they could not go into the Holy of Holies. All they could see was from the holy place, the curtain that separated them from the Holy of Holies. On that curtain, embroidered were cherubim. But those cherubim only had two dimensions. They had an up and down, and a left and right, a horizontal and a vertical. But as with any other picture, they had no depth. And yet, if you went behind the curtain, behind the veil, where we are invited to go by the writer of Hebrews, that we're told we can now go behind the veil to worship. And behind the veil, you found the mercy seat. First of all, you found the Ark of the Covenant. And on top of the Ark of the Covenant was a mercy seat. And on either end, facing each other of solid hammered gold, were two cherubim facing each other. They were made out of the same piece of gold material that the mercy seat was. It was just one big piece of metal. Expensive metal, certainly. But here's what I want you to see. Outside the curtain, all we saw was two dimensions. Inside the curtain, we saw the same picture, the cherubim, in three dimensions. You see, when we press into the presence of God, We see dimensions that we've never seen before, that we've never experienced before. When we're content to hang around the outside, around the edges, around our Sunday morning experiences, we see two dimensions. When we press through into His presence, we experience dimensions that we've never seen and that we have never experienced before. Let me go back and read part of that again to you from the Passion Translation. Sing your way into His presence with joy and realize what this really means. We have the privilege of worshiping the Lord our God. For the Lord is always good, verse 5, and ready to receive you. He is so loving that it will amaze you, and so kind that it will astound you. Let me suggest that as we have extra time on our hands, at least many of us do, with our being forced back into our homes and with our quarantine, I guess that's the word I'm looking for. Take some extra time. Press into His presence. As the writer of Hebrews says, go beyond the veil. I believe it's Hebrews 9 if I'm not mistaken. Go beyond the veil. Enter into the Holy of Holies and experience what He has for all of us. Another dimension that we have maybe never experienced, or maybe we've only touched the edge of. As we were growing up, there was a TV show called the Fourth Dimension, I believe. A new place that people had never been. For many of us as believers, we've experienced the outside, but we've never entered in where He calls us to go. The watchword is worship. The password, according to the Passion Translation, is praise. I'll enter His gates with thanksgiving in my heart. I'll enter His courts with praise, the psalmist says. Let's do that. And take this time and learn more about Him. Get to know Him better. See new dimensions of the Father that we have never experienced. I promise you will never be sorry that you took the time to do that. Have a great and blessed day, and be blessed from the Pastor Study.